Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton, back with a very disappointed extra time video today. It's the day after a disappointing result away to Wolves, 3-0 loss. Joined by Owen today. We're just going to get straight into it. We're going to dive in a bit more detail than we do in the instant match reactions and talk about tactics, players, and obviously there's a million players we can talk about yesterday, but we'll start with the system because obviously Carlo caused a bit of confusion straight away with his, Everton Twitter meltdown. Obviously, the actual official Twitter didn't even know what formation he was playing. Baines obviously started out on the left, Dinley kind of on the left of a three, which was mainly a five, let's be honest. And then obviously at one point, the back five ended up with one winger, three fullbacks, and just Michael Keane as the only fit centre back. Then it changed again, kind of in the second half, to bring on Branthwaite, who we'll get onto in a bit. Just Owen, kind of, what were your thoughts on the system? Do you think it really worked in the first half, and do you think the changes that he made in the second half really made that much of a difference?
If he wanted to get to half time with 0-0, yeah, it did work because, well, it didn't because Dean gave away the penalty. But in terms of if it was a nullifying job for the first 45 minutes, it worked. They didn't really have many chances. Daniel Podence played very well for them, and he created a bit. They got on the ball a bit, but didn't really do much with it. We were quite resolute for about 44 minutes, and then they started to get in behind us a couple of times, and then they gave the penalty away. I'm not a fan of three at the back. I just think it limits you with the space between the wing back and the centre backs, and that's ultimately where they got in, and Dean gave away the penalty. I'm not a big fan of it, especially with that midfield protecting it. I'd rather just see us play 4-4-2, to be honest. I mean, I'm not surprised he went with that, and I predicted he would go with that, but ultimately, I think the way, is there any way forward of these players, man? But I would say 4-4-2 is our best formation.
Yeah, I agree, especially with just the players we've got. Because I mentioned this yesterday when I was tweeting that. I mean, the defensive have looked a bit shaky in the past few games. But like, what are you meant to do when you've got literally zero defensive cover in front of you? Like, if you've got no one covering you at all, Michael Keane was asked to play on the right of the three, and he's not the quickest. He can't turn the fastest. So the balls that were getting played in behind, he had no cover. I mean, I personally don't mind three at the back, but definitely not with the players we've got. Because I mean, as soon as Yeremina went off, as I said, we had Coleman and Digne at centre back, Baines at. I mean, I just don't think that really worked. To be fair, I think he should have changed it there and then because I didn't see how we could really carry on with a kind of like a five. I mean, it was mainly five defenders at most of the time because obviously Walcott was tracking very far back, and Walcott did. I thought he started okay, delivered a couple of good balls, but I mean he trailed off very quickly, which it's been the same for most players to be fair, lacking fitness, and obviously we've mentioned the midfield there. We're going to have to talk about them. Sigurdsson and Davies. I mean, they're not the only problem, but I think they're pretty much the major problem at the moment. I mean, I really feel like we would have stood a chance of getting Europa League if we had any sort of progression or any sort of ambition in the midfield. Obviously, there was that stat at the end of the game where it was our highest pass combination was Sigurdsson to Keane, which it is absurd, really. And there's the picture of Sigurdsson pointing that way. He refuses to take responsibility for like his only responsibility, which is pick up the ball, get it forwards. I mean, he's an attacking midfielder in theory. I get he's being asked to play a bit further back than he's used to, but he just has no ambition on the ball. And obviously, I can imagine what your thoughts are going to be, but do you want to give us your thoughts on kind of Sigurdsson and Davies and how we go forward from here?
Right, let's start with Tom Davies. Do you know when people say he's a League One footballer, they're right, because he's genuinely woeful. He is genuinely terrible. Did you see that thing in the second half where I think Pickford or some Branthwaite, someone gave him it? He just passed that off to player, just thought at that point. Yeah, it's just there's no point even watching at this point. Oh, he's genuinely horrific. He's got no energy, and if he's got no legs around him, everything else he might have just goes to nothing because he can't cover ground quick enough, so he gets overrun. And then when he's on the ball, he's not technically the best anyway. He just tries to find aimless passes forward, which is more that can be said for Gylfi Sigurdsson. Oh my word, he's another one who tries to outdo himself every game. He's just got no sense of progressing the ball whatsoever. It's baffling how limited he is. When you see other teams for other midfielders, they might have like a 45% pass completion rate. But you know why that is? Because they're trying to find the goddamn centre forwards. Oh, it's a bit pointless what we're trying to play. And then you've got Andy Gordon who's getting the ball. He wants to run with it, but no one's really trying to make any space for him. So we just go back to the centre backs. The winger backs were just staying on the edge of their own box. And then you just had Sigurdsson and Davis just trying to pass it amongst themselves, sideways and backwards. They're winning the ball back. I think we must be the only team in the league who plays a quite, low block formation at the moment, defending quite deep, and then just knocks it around it. It's so ineffective. If we were trying to hit the channels and do that, I said, you know what, fine, we're trying to get everything out of it. But it might just be the midfield, to be honest, because they just got no sense of, you know what, Dom's running or Richarlison's running, let's just hit them. And then people go in the centre forwards back because they're getting so much delivery, aren't they? It's just nonsense. I'm just fed up of all of them midfielders, and I include the wingers as well. I include Walcott, include Iwobi, and definitely Bernard, who's just pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, because people are criticising the forwards, which I think the most ridiculous part of this. Because, I mean, we've seen, obviously, the Southampton goal literally came from Digne having to force the ball forwards instead of, one of the two midfielders. And then, because Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, they still make the runs, they just get ignored. Because Sigurdsson just has no kind of, he doesn't want to take any risks. He wants to just, pad his stats, get a higher pass completion or whatever, just goes backwards. And I mean, I don't get people that criticise Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. I mean, people criticise Calvert-Lewin more than Richarlison at the moment because obviously Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored yet. But like, I don't understand how he's meant to. I mean, we saw under Silva, he did the best with what he's got because he wasn't getting any service there for a while either, and he does the best with what he got. But we do know he can run the chance, but we just refuse to find him, which I don't think is actually down at the system because you can tell Anthony Gordon's kind of been told to kind of progress play forwards, but if he has no support from his other, because it's not as if we've got two defensive midfielders who don't like taking risks. We've got Gylfi Sigurdsson who prefers himself as a traditional number 10, and Davies
what's more ridiculous as well? What we could have done yesterday, because their wing backs pressed on quite high, there was just a big gaping space between, I think it'd be Cody and Bolly, a big space between them on either side. We could have just played balls into either channel. Because they were so high up.
Yeah.
Doherty and Johnny, they were that high up. We could have just played long balls into the channels, but no. Davis, Keane, Sigurdsson, Coleman. It's pathetic.
Yeah, because I mean, the Wolves fan that I spoke to just before the game in the opposition view, I said, where's your biggest weakness? And he said, I'm concerned about Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison either going up for like long balls against Connor Cody or just running at them because him and Willy Bolly, they're not the fastest players, are they?
Yeah.
So all that was what we had to do. And I literally, this might sound ridiculous and this might sound like a big generalization, but I just completely blame centre midfield because I can't see how you can literally pick up the ball and just look back to your centre back and give it to them to play it forwards when you're meant to be the one with the technical ability, which is just, it baffles me that we've genuinely ended up with three central midfielders. I mean, I'll exclude Gomez from this for now because I think he's actually got an excuse to why he's playing badly. I mean, he's just come out, he's come back from a major injury, not just, but I don't think he's fully fit. But then when you look at Sigurdsson and Davis, how often do teams have central midfielders that literally don't defend but don't attack either? Like, it's baffling. Like, we just don't understand what they do. But we're not gonna dwell on the midfield for too long because I think we could just go on and on about these lot. But I want to say, and I don't know if you agree with me. This is not a new problem. I think we've known for a very long time that Sigurdsson and Davies aren't up to the standard. Gomez isn't fully fit. We've been unlucky with Gbamin keep getting injured, and obviously when we saw Gomez kind of at his peak for Everton, he had Idrissa Gueye next to him. He's one of the most energetic midfielders that were in the league at the time. And he clearly needs someone like that, tenacious, energetic, happy to make the challenges midfielder next to him that's going to allow him to come into the game. But when Gomez is partnered with one of Sigurdsson or Davies, I feel sorry for him because he can't actually do what he wants to do. And I get not everyone's a big fan of Gomez because he's not the best player ever, but I feel he's a lot better when he's next to an energetic kind of more defensive midfielder, even if he's not the best ever. But I think to get the best out of Gomez, you have to put someone like Idrissa Gueye next to him, which we just don't have. And that's why we're struggling so much at the moment, because then if you have a partnership with Sigurdsson and Davies, who Davies seems to have no technical ability and Sigurdsson might have it but refuses to use it, the midfield can't can't work like we want it to at the moment, and that's why we have to strengthen there in the summer.
To be honest, mate, I don't think Gomez is up to it either. He can't defend in the two either, and that's why you need to be in a 4-4-2. If you have a look at, we'll use the high example. So Leicester, when they won the league, and Atletico Madrid, essentially when they play a very similar formation, in a two, they had ball winners, and they get the ball back and they pump it long. Gomez probably could pump it long, but he doesn't win the ball back. So he would need someone who wins the ball back for him to stand any chance. And if we're not going to have anyone who wins the ball back, he's probably the most useless player we could play, because if he's not getting the ball to win it back and play it forward, then he's not really doing anything. And I'll stay off a bit more on him, because it was even worse without him, to be honest. But even with him, he's been pretty bad for about a year for me. But it's one of them. You could put any midfielder in there at the moment, and you'll just get the same problem. Because none of them can run, none of them can cover ground, and none of them really can pick a pass. Sigurdsson, he's a great creator, is he? Because the only thing he creates is Michael Keane's long balls, and he just hits forward. He just plays it to him.
I do agree with.
Bad of our set pieces yesterday.
Oh yeah. I do agree with what you said about Gomez, to be fair, to an extent. But obviously, I think he obviously worked better in a 4-2-3-1 under Silva. I think he worked better in that formation. I do get he might never fit in kind of like the 4-4-2 that Ancelotti wants to play. But I just feel that if we had to have new centre midfielders and we had to ship off two of them, I'd be absolutely going for Sigurdsson and Davies before I'd go for Gomez, to be honest, because Davies does my head in. Because, I mean, I don't feel he's actually got a lot better since the City game where he broke out, 4 years ago now? It's quite a while ago now since that game.
He's got worse.
Yeah, like he hasn't improved. Like, and he's still a youngish, but if he hasn't improved by now, I don't see where he's going to go from here. But then, we're going to have to talk about Seamus Coleman, obviously, because he came out quite bluntly saying some players don't care, we've hidden behind managers, this and that. I don't know, I want to know your opinion, because obviously people are quite split on this, because some people say it as the usual Coleman rallying call, oh, we need to do better. I don't think it's as typical as they have been in the past, because I don't think he's ever come out really and called out people for a lack of effort every day in training. I mean, normally he used like the usual sound bites or wherever, and we need to try harder, we need to do better. Now he's really saying, like, there's a couple of names in this dressing room, and obviously he's not going to name them in public, and I don't want him to, because that's not going to help anyone. But I do feel this is slightly different to his usual kind of, motivational article on the Everton website before the derby, and then we get battered or skanked like a 0-0 at Goodison Park. Like, I don't know what your views are on it.
I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest, in terms of anything he really does, and he seemed to be one of the others now, to be honest, who just he doesn't lack effort, Coleman, and I'll never say that, but he does bottle it a bit, doesn't he? You never see him like lead the team. He's supposed to be the captain. He doesn't really lead by example in terms of organising the team. But I think he's spot on yesterday. I've got no issue with anything he said, because that's what I want him to say. And to be honest, that's what I've wanted him to say for a long time, instead of these useless statements on the website. I want him to come out after a game and say they're all rubbish or they don't try, because that's essentially what we see. So fair play to him on that, but I don't think he goes away scot-free either, because I don't think he leads the team very well.
Yeah, and I think the problems that we've got, and obviously highlighted there by Coleman saying a lack of effort, I'm very confident, to be fair, under Ancelotti. I think if there was ever going to be a midfield, I mean, Ancelotti's obviously renowned for his man management, and if there's problems with attitude, he'll get them out, or he'll sort it out in some other way. And I am confident that he can turn it around. There's some people that doubt Ancelotti, and I don't know if you're one of them, but I can't believe that someone would be. And it's just, he is. If we were ever going to have a manager that had to turn around the mentality of this club, as someone has to for a while, I think it's got to be him. He's a winner. He's a great man manager. And then, obviously, his influence has been quite successful so far on Anthony Gordon, bringing him into the team, who's played fairly well. Obviously, he's played fairly well in a team that aren't playing well, so we'll have to actually wait and see how good of a player he is. And then Jared Branthwaite, who came on, conceded the free kick, had a tricky time defending the free kick. I don't know if it was completely his responsibility, as people made it out to be, but obviously, if we're going to take any positives from that game, obviously we've got two youthful players there who Ancelotti clearly trusts to put in to the team. So we know we've got a manager that trusts youth. Obviously, players like Ben and Gimme and Adam Aaron, we haven't seen them yet. Maybe he just doesn't trust them, but it's clear to see he's happy to trust youth if they're good enough. What are your kind of opinions on Gordon and Branthwaite? Do you think they're good enough to stay around? Obviously, I think Gordon definitely is. We'll have to see on Branthwaite. Obviously, Branthwaite only played a handful of games for Carlisle in League Two before he came to the Premier League, to be fair. And was kind of just thrown into it because obviously we have Yerry Mina, who, you know, his legs are made of glass. We've got Lewis Gibson out on loan at Fleetwood. You know, our centre-backs are stretched at the best of times. Now Holgate's injured as well. In terms of positive, do you think Gordon and Branthwaite are? I mean, is that a positive we can take from the game?
Yeah, I would say so. Considering Jared Branthwaite was a backup option for a 4th division team about 3, 4, or 5 months ago, I don't think he did too badly. Gordon, I think there's a player there, definitely. I would like to see him on the left in a 4-4-2, because in that central role yesterday, I don't think he got in the game, but I'm putting that more down to the fact he was playing out of position than anything he could affect. But Branthwaite, I thought, he had a quick baptism of fire in the first minute where he gave away the free kick for the goal. But apart from that, he didn't look out of place. And that says a lot about the others. If a 4th division centre-back didn't look out of place in an Everton team.
Yeah, exactly. And then just something I want to address before the end, and then we'll talk if you want to talk about anything else. Davies and his one-man offside trap yesterday from, I don't know, because every time we had a corner, it was Davies back. I haven't got a clue what he was trying to do there. Obviously, trying to just play Jota, you know, offside, even though he knew Jota has about 50 yards of pace on him. Davies can't run anywhere. Can we even explain kind of what goes through Davies' head? He just makes daft decisions, I think, that you can't make in the Premier League, and I don't understand how he does them at all.
Yeah, I would have hooked him after that. I would have literally just took him off. I don't care if it's Duncan coming on. I wouldn't think that was ridiculous. What on earth was that? The two, I think, Azama and Jota were on his heels, and he just stands there and lets them all. And to be honest, he's not alone with this ridiculous attitude that it's just most of them players just have this switch on and off attitude where it just doesn't really seem to hurt them, and until we get players in who it seems to hurt and who give everything for everything, then it's not going to change. A lot of people over the weekend you see on Twitter and wherever bemoaning the fact that clubs with less money and you would argue less technical ability, like Burnley and Sheffield United, are above us, and above us by a distance, by the way. Well, there's two things there. Their players give everything every week. No matter if they're 5-0 down, they go out and give everything. And second of all, they've had, I would say, 6 months head start on us with someone who knows what they're doing in the dugout. So they're the reason why they're above us by a distance.
Yeah.
So yeah, Davis, I don't know what that man offside trap was.
Yeah, and then I like what you said there about Burnley and Sheffield United. I mean, obviously, I don't know how long Sean Dyche and then Chris Wilder have been at the clubs respectively, but they've been there a long time now.
8 years for Dyche, for Wilder.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it just shows Ancelotti just needs all the time we can get. I mean, some people are quite doom and gloom at the moment, kind of suggesting we need a full overhaul. I don't think we need a full overhaul. I don't think every player needs to be sold. I think Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are good players. I think in the defence, if everyone's fit, we're all right. We could probably do it with a right back. But obviously, we know how good Mason Holgate's been this season. Keane's obviously played well since the restart with no fans, you know, kind of on his back, which might change as we come into next season. But it's the midfield that needs to change, and I think we will. I think we have to make changes because I think it's quite evident where the problem is. And if me and you can see the problem, I mean, I'm sure Ancelotti's seen these problems for months now. So obviously, and I think he just needs time. And I don't think this is the end of the world. I do think we've got some good players in the squad. I think recruitment in midfield, just drop something there. I think recruitment in midfield has been woeful at times. Obviously, Bernard's not a bad one because he was a free transfer. Obviously, he's on quite a high wage, though, so obviously you do have to play that in. It will be clearly not signed to play in this role, and he's struggled in it. Let's be honest. I think struggle's a nice word. Since the restart, he hasn't been good enough. But I think I trust Ancelotti to make the changes that he needs to. He'll know who he needs to get rid of to improve kind of the dressing room atmosphere, and it's just a matter of time, I think. And it's not the end of the world, as some people have made it out to be on Twitter. And just what we've already said. Yeah, these aren't new problems. Ancelotti's been here for not that long. He didn't really have January, did he, to make signings, and then so plenty of time. We'll be all right. I don't know if you've got anything to add before the end of the video.
Well, just apart from a quick mention of what was the goalkeeper doing when he was laughing on the line, but I'm not even going to talk about him because I'll get done for libel. Wow. No, you're right. I think that another one who needs to step up, and he's not necessarily on the pitch, is Brands this summer, because Ancelotti needs some serious help with this team. We've spent about 500 million quid. We look no better than we did 500 million ago, did we? So we need some serious help with players who can come in and make a difference. I'm not even talking about players who are like Iniesta. I'm just talking about players who run around, put tackles in, pop the ball off, get us moving forward, instead of these players who just don't seem to be good at anything. I look at someone like Leicester's recruitment. It's been spot on. I don't know what they're doing with their manager, but he's useless. But the players are really good there. The Wolves, their players are brilliant. I don't know why we signed. The thing with them and the thing with us is we seem to be in this trap of signing proven Premier League players who caught the eye, and then they've had their moment of fame, and then they just dwindle off into the nothing. Where they signed like Wilfred Ndidi for about 5 million quid, and Johnny Otro from nowhere really, and he comes in, he's a brilliant left wing back for Wolves. And okay, João Moutinho was known, wasn't he? But even like players like Sheffield United, and you look at who's John Fleck, but he's much better than any of our players. You know, Liz Mousset couldn't kick a ball for Bournemouth, and he looks all right for Sheffield United. You know, Chris Wood, he was Chris Wood, but he's effective. And none of our players seem to be anywhere near effective enough, apart from the front two, Holgate and Dean.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is possibly, I mean, we say it every summer, this needs to be the best recruitment we've had so far, but I think it's the most important now, not in terms of spend, just find the right players. Just find players that actually want to come and play for the club as well, not players that are coming here for a good wage, like Sigurdsson, players like that. Don't make sure players aren't just coming to get paid by Everton. Make sure they want to come here, even if they're young. We need energy in the midfield, and it feels ridiculous that we have to that's what we have to ask for. We're begging for signings that can put in a tackle and have energy in the midfield. And then just what you said about Pickford, I'm sure we'll go into Pickford in his own video at some point once the hectic fixtures are over. But I agree. Strange reaction to the mistakes, but I think the problem itself is the mistakes he's making. I know a lot of people don't like his reaction, but the mistakes are absolutely the problem.
No, it's the mistakes that annoy me more, but the reaction to it, like I get another one, who cares? It's
so.
Did you see Nick Pope on Saturday? He's just angry if the ball goes over his bar. Never mind how it slips under his bloody leg. It's a mentality issue.
Yeah, it's another attitude thing. And then obviously we could devote a whole video to that, but that's not what this video was. This video was extra time for the Wolves game. Owen, thank you for coming on. We do hope you enjoyed the video. It wasn't too negative. We have tried to address some positives from the game. Gordon and Branthwaite. We've got a world-class manager. We need good recruitment, but this could be a good team. We do have some good players somewhere.
If your people are that desperate for a positive, what I would say is we limited a very good team to nothing for 44.5 minutes-ish. So they are very good, and we did do that, but it was everything else. Just the lack of invention in this team is terrible to watch. But
there you have it. Anyway, be sure to check out Owen's social media. Check out all of ours in the description below. And let's hope for a better result moving forward. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.